Hello, I'm Dave. I have another game analysis for everyone. I'll be mostly looking at the plan and ideas of the game and not so much into the variations. This was a Blitz game I played on ICC. It's an English opening. The ECO code is A20. The themes will be controlling the light squares on the long diagonal and a queenside pawn attack. I'm playing white in this game. And I open with C4, E5, G3, Bishop C5, Bishop G2, Knight E7, Knight C3, Knight at B to C6, Knight F3, D6, D3, Bishop to G4, castles, and H6. This is an important move by black. One of the themes in this particular opening that white likes to do is he likes to bring his bishop to G5 and exchange it for this knight. The reason he does this is because this knight, whether it be at E7 or at F6, would help control these two light squares. So by eliminating this knight, it eliminates one of the defenders of two of the squares that white wants to control in this game. D5 is a very important square of the English Open. It's one of the key squares that white likes to or needs to control to be successful. So the game continued, rook to B1. So let's take a look here. What white wants to do is, like I said, he wants to use this bit to control the long diagonal and the white squares. And now with the rook at B1, he's going to begin a pawn storm on the queen side, advancing these pawns up the board and eventually hoping to break through and possibly create a passed pawn. So that's his overall general plan, controlling the light squares, the long diagonal, and a queenside pawn storm. So let's see how the game continues. A6, A3, castles, B4, Bishop A7, A4, and rook to E8. H3, attacking the bishop, bishop to H5, and now knight to D2. By doing this, white has his two knights where they could possibly, if necessary, jump onto these two squares, helping give him some central control also. So that's another reason to help this control of the light squares. Black plays knight to D4, and the knight attacks along with the bishop the E2 square. But more importantly, by moving this knight, white now has an attack on the undefended B7 pawn. So to counter this, I play the simple G4, eliminating one of the attackers of the E2 square, and the bishop has to retreat to G6. Now I'm able to win my pawn on the long diagonal with bishop takes B7, rook to B8, and now white has a choice. He could either capture this pawn, B takes A6, black might respond C6, and I would be up 2 pawns. But I decided not to take the second pawn. I wanted to keep the bishop on this long diagonal, so I played bishop to G2. I was afraid that possibly black might maybe move his rook over, bring his pawn up, and then this is if my bishop was still over here on A6, and then he would have his light squared bishop to possibly take control of these light squares that I had weakened because my bishop is now over here on the queen side, not helping defend these light squares that are now weak on my king side. So that's the reason I decided not to take the pawn. I retreated to G2. I'm sure there's some people who disagree with my analysis and idea, but that was my reasoning for playing it. The game continued knight at E to C6. I played B5, continuing my queenside pawn attack. A takes B, A takes B, and knight to A5. I played rook to A1. My rook has attacked 2 pieces here that are both undefended. Of course, black can very easily defend the knight with bishop to B6. But then I played knight to D5, attacking the bishop, which defends A6. But of course, he could retake with the pawn and still defend it. But it's a threat. And black played king to H7. I played E3, attacking his knight, pushing it back. He plays knight E6 and knight E4. As you can see, I have all of the light squares with my pawns and my bishop, I'm able to place my two knights here in the center, exerting a lot of control into black's camp. So I have a very strong position, control a lot of squares in black's position. So I felt very confident in how the game was going at this point. Black played knight to g5. I went in and exchanged, and he took with his queen. I played bishop to d2. This is an important move because what it does is, it is a double threat here. I still have a possible discovered attack on the queen if I move my pawn up, and I'm attacking the knight with my bishop and rook, possibly winning a piece. Black made a mistake. He played queen to h4. And of course, this being a blitz game, it's very easy to miss things, and I don't so it's very possibly just because of time constraints he made a mistake. He should have played something like knight to b7. I might have responded with bishop c3 and king to g8. And I'd still be up a pawn. I'd have control of the a file, and the game still had a lot of play left in it. But he played queen to h4. I took advantage of this with bishop takes a5. Excuse me. Bishop takes a5 and rook to a5. Now I'm a pawn and a knight ahead. Black retreats his queen to d8. I play knight to b4, c6, and I win my second pawn, and also I'm forking his queen. His queen and rook. He plays queen to c7. I play knight takes b8. He plays queen takes a5, and now I retreat my knight back to c6. Queen to c3, e4. Excuse me. He attacks my e-pawn with his bishop and queen, so I prevent this with e4. He plays rook to a8, bringing his rook to the file. Good idea. I played queen to b1, putting my queen behind my passed pawn. This will assist it to push itself up the board, and it's the best place to put a heavy piece is behind a passed pawn. He plays queen to d2. Excuse me. I push the pawn with b6. He plays rook to a2. I play b7, continuing to push the pawn. Now he plays rook to b2, thinking he's stopped the passed pawn by attacking my queen, thinking it would have to move. But I surprised him with queen takes b2. He retakes. I promote my pawn to a queen. And at this point, black resigned, seeing that he is now a knight, a rook, and a pawn. And he figured that was enough, and that was the end of the game. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. Kind of review, my plan was controlling of the light squares and long diagonal using my pawns and bishop. I used my rook at b1 to help support my pawn attack on the queen side, and won this game quite handily. Doesn't mean every game's going to end this way, but I enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. So thank you very much.